On May 21st, 2023, Mercedes Mone, the former Sasha Banks in WWE, sustained an injury that put all of her New Japan and Stardom dates on hold. Plans for a match between her and Julia for a belt that was specifically designed for Mone to win were put on hold, and now those plans are not in place because it looks like Mone's short stint in Japan is coming to an end. So, will Mone go to AEW or return to WWE as Sasha Banks? I guess she'll follow the money. It's a joke because her name is Mercedes Mone.
Support WrestleTalk!
Sasha Banks, along with her tag champ partner Naomi, walked out on WWE on the 16th of May 2022 edition of Monday Night Raw due to disagreements with the creative direction for both her tag partner, and the women's tag division as a whole. After a few months of speculation, Fightful Select were able to report that Banks had finished with the company and was able to take outside bookings from January 1st, 2023. Naomi, on the other hand, just announced that she was done with WWE and signed with Impact Wrestling in April of 2023. Banks didn't wait so long, debuting for New Japan Pro Wrestling at Wrestle Kingdom 17 following the IWGP Women's Championship match between Kairi and Tam Nakano. It was reported that Banks, now going by her new wrestling name Mercedes Mone, was making, no pun intended, bank on this New Japan deal. Voices of Wrestling reported that Mone's deal was the largest New Japan had ever made to any wrestler, including Chris Jericho, who was rumored to be making around $100,000 per show. For what it's worth, Dave Meltzer said that it wasn't that high. But whatever it was, it paid off for New Japan, as the first show that Mone was announced for, which took place on February 2nd in San Jose, sold out. At that show, Mone won the IWGP Women's Championship, which she held for 64 days before losing it to Mayu Iwatani at Stardom All-Star Grand Queendom. Mone wouldn't be without gold for very long though, as New Japan announced a new title would be introduced for their strong brand in the US, which would see a winner crowned the following month. Dave Meltzer wrote in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that Iwatani winning the IWGP Women's Championship was because Mone would be finishing up with New Japan after the show, but had agreed to a new deal. However, by that point, the creative decision had already been made for Mone to drop the belt. So basically, New Japan reportedly just made a new belt for Mone to win instead. Disaster struck in the finals of that tournament though, as Mone suffered a serious ankle injury and called an audible in the finals to lose to Willow Nightingale. That title was eventually won by Julia, and it was reported in the summer of 2023 that New Japan's plans were to have her face against a returning Mone when she was fit and healthy. But by November, Dave Meltzer reported that there were no dates scheduled for Mercedes Mone with New Japan or Stardom. This report coincided with the WWE return of Kairi Sane. More on that later. Mone herself said in a cameo video that she would return with some wrestling company in 2024, with no specificity on what that company would be. And in the December 4th edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Meltzer wrote, Mone has no matches left on her deal with Japan because the planned Julia versus Mone match upon her return is no longer in the books. Part of the holdup is there's also reports that WWE have interest in signing Julia. More on that later. So, Mercedes Mone will be back wrestling soon. She posted a video of her training on November 29th, 2023. But if Japan is no longer on the cards, what comes next? A return to America seems most likely, but will she return to WWE or try new waters with All Elite Wrestling? When Mone debuted for New Japan Pro Wrestling, there was plenty of online speculation that she could also make some appearances for All Elite Wrestling based on the company's working relationships together. In December of 2022, Syres announced that she would be tagging with a mystery partner against Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter on the January 11th edition of Dynamite. And because speculation ramped up so much that Syres' mystery partner would be Mone, AEW had to announce ahead of time that it would actually be Toni Storm. But there were talks between AEW and Mone in place. Fightful Select reported that AEW and Mone had been in discussions about her coming in for the Forbidden Door co-promotion show with New Japan, which would have reportedly seen her take on Syres. Sadly, Mone's injury kept her off that card. While Tony Khan did not confirm her opponent for the show, he did confirm that they were in talks for her to be part of Forbidden Door, saying, "Nobody really knows besides Mercedes and myself what was going to happen at Forbidden Door." Monet eventually made her on-screen AEW debut, sort of, at All In at Wembley Stadium when she was shown on camera not once, not thrice, but twice. Dave Meltzer wrote in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, the story we had heard was that she was likely to wrestle on this show before her injury. Then, just before Full Gear in November 2023, it was announced that AEW was going to announce a major signing, with plenty of online speculation that it would be Mercedes Mone. Mercedes Mone herself even teased that it would be her on Instagram, but Fightful Select reported it wasn't her. It was, in fact, Will Ospreay. And he's an interesting character in this story because what AEW wanted to have done for Monet is not too dissimilar what they actually did do for Will Ospreay. AEW basically spent all of 2022 rolling out the red carpet for Ospreay, putting him in high-profile matches, giving him a match at Wembley Stadium, and showing him at every possible turn, here's what you could win if you sign with AEW. There was heavy interest from WWE in signing Ospreay, according to Fightful Select, and Will himself teased signing with WWE, but ultimately chose to sign with AEW because of how they treated him and what they offered. He didn't have to move to the US, which he didn't really want to do, and he's getting huge money for it. How much money? Well, TNA offered him a 7-figure deal, according to PW Insider, and Dave Meltzer wrote in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that WWE also offered a huge deal, but admitted to him that AEW went higher with their offer, which basically means they went higher than WWE, who had heavy interest, and TNA, who put in a 7-figure deal. And without the injury, you can bet dollars to donuts that AEW would have done the same for Monet, had her wrestle in a big match at Forbidden Door, given her a marquee match at Wembley Stadium, then given her massive money offers, which would have had options to live wherever she wants, which ironically might be Japan, going by previous Monet interviews. Ospreay's also been announced for TNA's Snake Eyes show on January 14th, 2024, and we've seen over the years that signing with All Elite Wrestling doesn't mean that you solely work for All Elite Wrestling, which means if Monet were to sign with AEW, she could still do New Japan and Stardom dates, or even work around the world for other promotions. Recent signee to AEW Mariah May, also formerly of Stardom, sent out a tweet to Monet asking where she was at on December 1st. But is signing with AEW the best move for Monet, given their history of women's promotion on their show? This sign was at an AEW event in 2023. Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio on December 5th noted that there was a lot of negativity in the AEW locker room when it comes to getting TV time, and noted that Britt Baker, once the figurehead of AEW's women's division, is in the category of frustrated wrestlers. And while there has been a lot of talk in 2023 of Mercedes Mone signing with AEW, or at the very least doing some deals with them, according to Sean Ross Sapp, it's now more likely we'll see the WWE return of Sasha Banks. While reviewing the December 4th edition of Monday Night Raw, Sean Ross Sapp was asked about Mercedes Mone returning to WWE, to which he replied,
I do think there is more of a possibility of Mercedes heading to WWE than I thought there was in August, when there was a working plan for Mercedes and AEW to work together. Because when I followed up on that, I have not been told of any current active plan for that to happen. And that's a bummer, because it looked like it was going to happen. It really did look like it was going to happen.
It was looking like it was going to happen. Mercedes Mone is All Elite, etc. But things have changed. So what's changed? Well, for starters, Vince McMahon's no longer there. Monet walked out on WWE due to her creative frustrations, but a lot has changed in WWE since then. Vince is gone. John Laurinaitis, someone else she reportedly had issues with, is gone. And Triple H, the guy who booked her early work in NXT, is the guy in charge of all of WWE's creative now. And you've only got to watch Raw and SmackDown to see how his NXT children are thriving on the main roster. Triple H has also brought back a lot of talent that were let go during the McMahon era. Braun Strowman, Johnny Gargano, Candice LeRae, Tegan Nox. Hell, he brought back CM Punk. But perhaps more key to this story is Crown Jewel, which saw the WWE return of Kairi Sane, the woman Monet beat for the IWGP Women's Championship in her New Japan debut match. Sane reunited with her Sky Pirates tag partner Io Sky, and the Damage Control group grew in numbers when Sane's Kabuki Warriors partner Asuka joined their ranks. They have since then been running a storyline where Bayley, the founder of this group, is seemingly being pushed out of it. Following Sane's return, infamous Reddit user Kermit posted that more people were set to either return or sign for WWE as part of this storyline, some of which are close friends and stars no one will see coming. While he couldn't confirm any names, Sean Ross Sapp was able to confirm Kermit's report. This ties into Dave Meltzer's report about Monet not currently having any plans with New Japan for that Julia match that was on the books, because nobody knows for sure what Julia's decision will be between working in Japan and WWE, or if AEW would make an offer. Alex Queen of the Ring asked Triple H about Julia at the Survivor Series press conference, to which he replied, they are always looking globally for new talent to bring in. And on that story of Damage Control, it's not just Mariah May that tweeted to Mercedes Mone as her Boss and Hug Connection partner. Yes, that was their tag team name. Her Boss and Hug Connection partner Bayley retweeted Monet's training return video with "the greatest is yet to come." So those are the options. I mean, there's actually loads of options. TNA is right there. They offered Will Ospreay 7 figures plus her former tag partner Trinity as their current champion. But these are the options that we've discussed. Mercedes could sign with AEW. She could return to WWE as Sasha Banks, which reportedly is the more likely option at this point, or perhaps she stays in Japan. If you were Mercedes Mone, which would you do? And just after you've left that comment down below answering my excellent question, why not check out Ollie Davis's deep dive into the history of CM Punk and The Shield, and how none of them really want to do work with him, but they always do.